So my topic today is the unconscious biases, or the world in my head. And unconscious biases, as Nadine Ehrenstein just said, is definitely something that happens in our head. And we have quite a lot of things to manage. So our world is very, very complex. And every moment we get over 1 million information, but only 40 can be handled by our brain. And so this is the moment where the unconscious biases kicks in, that we want to simplify our world. And that makes everything easier. Just simplifying, as we only process a small part of all the impressions. And this is the point where we look into the instincts, which covers the fast unconscious thinking, which are the reflex, versus the brains, where we have this conscious thinking, making decisions. And when we look deeper into that, we can see that 95% of our actions are definitely triggered by instincts. And what are some examples for this? So instincts are like driving a car on an empty road, hearing hostility in someone's voice, or just summing up 3 plus 3. So, okay, it's 6, obviously. But on the other hand, we need to stay conscious in the part when we want to park a car in a small, narrow parking space, or focus on a certain conversation in a crowded room. Even if I'm away 2 meters or anything like that, I can hear the certain conversation and figure out what they are talking about. And multiplication, for example, of 46 by 15. And these are the 2 parts which influence our actions. And of course, sometimes we do need both parts. And I just like to try here with some examples. What does this mean? So, for example, we have a shirt and a pair of pants, both cost 1.10 euros. The shirt costs 1 euro more than the pants. How much do the pants cost? So just switch on the mic or write it in the chat to see what are directly your answers for this mathematical question. Not trying to calculate or anything, just very fast answering this question. What do you think?
10 cents.
Olaf, there are no shoes.
Shoes.
So Brigitte, you said that the pants cost 10 cents. Okay, are there other answers? 5 cents. Alfred, you already unmuted you. What did you say? Sorry.
I think 10 cents. Because 10 cents, it's a little bit complexity in this pic because of the sunglasses and more information. But this is I think it's a normal situation in our business context. You have much more information that you need for decisions there, maybe.
Yeah.
That was my problem.
I'm sorry. I will change the picture in the future.
Okay. No, not to change, Miriam. I think it's a very good exercise.
Yeah, okay, please don't change the picture. The distraction is really great.
Yeah, because that relates to the slide you showed before.
Yeah.
Okay, but coming to the question itself, we have the shirt with only 5 cents and the pants with 1.05 cents. 1 euro 5 cents. And this is the 10 cents. I also gave this answer by very fast answering this. So we have 1 euro and 1 euro 10, and the difference, okay, is 10 cents. but just thinking about, when you want to sum it up, it needs to be €1.10, and this comes then with the 5 cents and 105. I have another example, and this is, maybe you know this, we have a checkerboard or chessboard, and we have these two squares, A and B. And what do you think? Which square is darker, A or B? And okay, A. Let's see some further answers. Okay. Oh, let's define dark. Okay. Which one appears not brighter? Okay. Same thing described in a different way. But have a look to the solution. When you just put in some lines, you can see that both squares have the same color. This is due to the shadow. But by learning how a chessboard is set up, this one is black or dark, and this one would be white or light. And so we assume B should be lighter or A should be darker, just by learning. And we want to make it easy, less complex, and then we assume A is darker than B. Okay, so we had Thomas already answered with A equals B. And yeah, congratulations, Thomas, you figured it out. And one further example, we have this two tables, just very shortly, which table would be bigger in your opinion, the left one or the right one? Any ideas? Left one, right one, okay. And actually, it's the same size. It's just a point of perspective. Yes, Silke, right, they have both the same size. When you just move the legs around and the table around, you can see that both have the same size. And these three examples just showed that, these kind of instincts are the basis for our unconscious biases, because we want to make it easy. The biases kick in and want to answer very fast, which creates our bias word. And of course, there are pros and cons. As I mentioned, 95% of our 95%. Now we have it. Of our actions and decisions are led by instincts, and this is due to our natural historical past with fight or flee. You need to make a very fast decision. Can I win this fight, or is my opponent a real threat? When you're facing a dinosaur, okay, definitely run away, because you cannot win instantaneously. So when we look to the pros of unconscious biases, as I mentioned, we have less complexity. It facilitates definitely our everyday life and enables our quick actions. It allows mental shortcuts, and it will also fill knowledge gaps with the previous experiences. So we know that the chessboard, for example, has white and black squares, and now we will know very fast, this one is black, this one is white, the other should be darker or brighter. And it also helps to maintain stability. But on the other side, It makes, of course, difficult to have fair and objective decisions. And so you can go towards misjudgment. It is difficult to control, definitely, and it intensifies in old age within homogeneous groups and also under pressure in ambitious situations. So, summing this up, one can say that everyone has unconscious bias. And that's okay. You just need to see for yourself, I do have unconscious biases. Just get aware that you have one. Figure out which are your own unconscious biases. And realize the situations in which you use your instincts, where the biases kick in, and realize how to overcome unconscious biases. Silke, I just recognized you asked why in old age the unconscious biases kick in. That's the reason why you have a long time proceed everything again and again and again. And you are really stuck in your thinking. And this is the reason why normally it intensifies within old age. And when you have older people there and they're really stubborn and don't see any changes or what should be done different, this is due to this bias memory. And Nadine Egelstein just mentioned beforehand, you really get stuck in these biases and cannot overcome quite easily these structures. Is there a way or a tool to measure or assess unconscious biases? Monica asked. Actually, there are nudges. I will come up later with the nudges not to measure, but to assess and maybe to overcome. First, I like to start with one further exercise, and this is to let's kick in your unconscious biases if you see a person. So just write in the chat or turn on your mics. When you see this person, what could be his job or what could he do in everyday life or anything? Just very fast, when you see him, what is the first idea which jumps into your mind? He's retired, okay. Hedge fund manager, okay. An actor, quite nice.
He's a cheater.
And we have, okay, he's a man, yeah. Grandpa. Okay, let's jump into the solution. And he is Bernard Lawrence Madoff, former financial and stockbroker, and sentenced to 150 years in prison due to the largest Ponzi scheme in the world history in the US. And the scam was estimated at roughly 65 billion US dollars. So something different, one expect. Oh, a sports teacher also jumped up. So that was one example. Let's see the next example. What do you think about her? How could she earn some money, or what could she have invented? Okay, influencer, HR manager, singer, okay, Instagram influencer, artist, eco-artist, okay, activist, sorry, student, okay. So let's jump into the solutions. Student is partially true. This is Beatrice Fischer-Book, and she invented or founded HOMI during her first financial year at George Washington University. And this was an application for three-dimensional interior design. And now the app and website reached a turnover of $1 million. And graded this before she graduated from university. So we have 3 more examples. This girl here, what do you think about her job or her special power? Financial manager. Okay, it just jumped into the solution as a financial manager is right. She's working at General Motors. And then female chief financial officer, and spent her career totally at GM. Okay, we have this guy here. Some ideas on this. Actually, this is my favorite, absolute favorite. Con artist, okay. Mafia, a gamer, okay. Secret agent, really like that. A lawyer, okay. Security guy. Okay, let's look into his CV. Here's Charles Sobrai, and was a killer in Southeast Asia in the 70s. He was targeting mainly Western tourists and has been linked to at least a dozen of murders and number additional crimes like theft or blackmailing or anything like that, and was convicted in 1976. And if I remember correctly, next year there will be a movie on his life as the snake, as I remember correctly. Okay, and the last one, what do you think about her? Any ideas? Author, okay. Founder, social innovation. Gynecologist, okay. Startup kitchen utilities, business owner. Okay, yes, we jump into the business owner. She's a businesswoman and founded the BET Black Entertainment Television. Is also CEO of Salamander Hotels and Resorts, and the first African American woman with a fortune over $1 billion. And why I like to make this series of pictures, what did you realize? Maybe you realized that with every picture you focused more on the details in the background, or on the details of the certain person in the face, the surrounding taken into account. And this is a very smooth step forward to overcome your unconscious biases. So the first person you just kicked in, okay, this is, she's doing that or he's doing this. And now with the forthcoming, the next pictures, the hits got better, and you also tipped on the right solutions. So you kind of overcome your own biases. And to just reflect your behavior, just reflect everything, to become aware of your own unconscious biases. But how big is the world of unconscious biases? Actually, it's a quite big world. So we have this cognitive bias codex, and you do not need to read everything. It's over 180 biases, and you can access this code on Wikipedia. And actually, we have 4 sections on these codex. We have for these 4 main classes. What should we remember is the experience is broken down into selected key moments that we already experienced, so making everything easier. We need to act fast. This is this green part. This is in the existing routine, changes are perceived or certain patterns recognized and then followed by this projection, which is already been learned. So also we use for acting fast, we use our learned routines. It has not enough meaning. This is a very small part here at the top. And it describes an existing circumstances is not given sufficient importance, and the gaps are just overplayed with existing knowledge. So we kick back into our old habits. And if we have too much information, this is also a very, very big part here at the bottom, that obvious decisions are made when we process activities that interest us in primarily and more quickly. So we narrow everything down, and it all comes back to the first slide. We want to make everything easy. And as we evolve with the time, the unconscious bias codex map is increasing as well. Every year some new biases are added, and some I really like the Google bias. We do not need to remember a certain thing. We can just search in the internet. So everything easy, just Google it and everything is fine. And on the other hand, the Ikea bias, Ikea bias, we believe strongly in the things we build with our hands. So although all the IKEA stuff is are some boards and maybe not always very stable, but we put it together with our own hands, so we are really proud of it. And this happens also to other things. Okay, as I just mentioned, the number of biases are growing as we are evolving and changing. And when you now go to our world, professional world, our world at work, these are the typical 13 unconscious biases which happen or cross our path at our professional surrounding. So what should we remember is kind of limited for this. We have some for too much information, like the Oysterich effect or confirmation bias. Oysterich effect is, I don't want to hear it, I just put my head into the sand and everything happens around me. And the confirmation, of course, is what others say, or I just, the others confirm what I say, and everything runs smoothly and well. I just marked here 6 unconscious biases. I jump into these 6 on the next page. But before I want to jump in also on the planning fallacy, so that I assume I need less time or more time to fulfill a task. The illusion of transparency. This is also quite interesting. So I assume that I know why a person acts in a certain way, although I don't know all the circumstances, and I just judge by it as I assume I know everything. The typical not invented here, like a killer bias, do not follow. We won't follow it because it's not invented at our company. The bandwagon effect, as I will follow one person, and if a certain 2 persons are following or 3 persons, I definitely need to follow because this is the right direction to be going. And the authority bias, my manager says A is correct, and then, okay, if my manager says A is correct, I will definitely say A is correct, and I do not ask why he assumes so. But the other 6 are very critical ones that limit the diversity in our companies. And this is, for example, the halo effect. So a person is very good in researching a paper, and as he's doing this quite good, then I assume he's doing also cake baking very good, and give him this task, although I do not know this. So if a person is good, he should be good in all the topics. This is the halo effect. The in-group effect, of course, if you're part of a certain group, then you're treated more positively than the others. This typical stereotyping effect, if you have a certain appearance, then certain properties are attributed to this. We discussed being inked in the previous session. So if you're inked, you're not competent, or your certain opinion about things that is not welcome. And so you cannot be part of the company group effect or anything. We have the status quo effect. So staying at this position where you are, because change always feels weird, makes not feel comfortable itself. Then we have the minimi effect. Of course, I always like to be surrounded by persons which are similar to me, because it makes the work much easier. And the information bias is that we have interest in certain information, but this is not relevant to our current topic, which need to be worked on. So, for example, you need to make a presentation on an elephant, but the elephant is not the topic you like to focus on, but you figure out that the tail of an elephant looks like a worm. And then you say, okay, the worm is a very interesting thing. And then you just to start researching and looking to the topic of worms. And this is definitely something that influences the diversity in your company. So, and just looking closer, we have the minimi, in-group stereotyping, and halo effect. This definitely limits the diversity in your company in the first place, for example, during the hiring process. And when we look to the status quo effect and the information bias, it leads towards the inclusion, as this is the typical homogenization effect. If you do not focus on the way it's done previously and so forth, you do not fit, and then you just run through this homogenization machine, and then afterwards you still think in the same way. So we have typical killer biases for diversity and inclusion. And as I just spoiled in the beginning, we have something to go against our biases, and this is the nudging. Richard Thaler, winner of the Nobel Prize, wrote some books about nudging, and this is to change people's behavior in a predictable way. And you can use it on your own to change your own behavior and overcoming the unconscious biases. So, for example, when you want to figure out which are the best candidates to set up an orchestra, in the beginning they just stepped onto the stage, played their instrument, and the guys in the audience said, okay, you're in, you're out. But after a while, they figured out that they had nearly 100% of male participants in the orchestra, and started to listen to the musicians after a curtain. And this increased, for example, the number of women in orchestra up to 40%, and nowadays much higher. And also the point when we have a judge who's listening to a lot of cases to figure out if he's guilty or not guilty, or the person is guilty or not guilty, pauses influence the acquittals after a break. So if you have very often a pause, can rethink everything and not to act fast, next case, next case, next case, then you can directly focus on the details and make better decisions. And so this nudging helps to eliminate the blind spots and construction of behavioral bridges. And of course, there are some nudges. I want to just give some examples I used during my professional life so far as a team leader to overcome this unconscious biases. For example, I used team breakfast or department lunches. So all the people come together, bring something to eat from their region, from their typical home, from cultural, with cultural aspects. And then, you have just created a platform for exchange, and no one sees which plate comes from whom, and then the discussion starts, and you get to know each other quite well, and you can overcome maybe some biases as stereotyping or in-group effect. We have the junior talk in our team. So the youngest team member starts to talk or present his idea. This is on the one hand to promote open and cross-hierarchical communication. So it strengthens the young person and shows also the other colleagues that there's trust and willingness to take risk, and this creates this mainly the trust, which is very, very great. And when you have of course some hiring process, do not compare single applicants with each other, but just with a pool, and see what are the pros cons within this applicant pool, which I normally do. I also have some nudges as a project leader. It of course differs a bit from the team leader. For example, the 6 hats. And when you have a project team with certain positions and roles, like a financial guy, process guy, technical guy, and so forth. And the situation is not that easy because everybody is arguing against each other. Then you just say, okay, you financial guy now take over the position of the process guy, and the process guy takes over the position of the technical guy, and so forth. And then they reflect the actions of the other person, and this really helps to understand their actions and behaviors and smoothens everything in this project team. And of course, positive meetings. I really like to start with positive things, not to say, okay, this went bad and the product was not produced. We were not able to submit our battery cell or anything like that. But to start, okay, it went quite well that we produced this electrodes. We had very good results on hazardous tests or anything. And this always helps to generate a very good mood in the group and helps, for the whole project team to focus on the right topics. And something I do with myself is getting to know work. So if there's a new colleague and you do not want to jump into the unconscious bias fail, just ask if he or she likes to have a coffee or a walk, and just getting to know each other during that time. It does not need to be 30 minutes or that, just 5 minutes, 10 minutes walk very shortly to listen to this person and create maybe a new opinion. And my last hint I always like to do to create conscious bias. So there's a new colleague, and I do see this colleague, or maybe just hear his voice or anything like that, and then I create biases, conscious biases. Okay, why? What do I think? Okay, the person has some accent. So she or he needs to come from this region. Okay, they are very brutal in this region. Or when I see that person, okay, the person is has blue hair. Okay, if he or she has blue hair, then she is following this or that position. So directly creating some bias in my head, and then start smiling about myself and saying, okay, now I can kick everything aside and get to know this person directly. This is something I like to do to influence my actions and my thinking. And so I just like to sum up all these points I just gave in the last minutes. With the 95% of our behavior is triggered by instincts. Everyone has, of course, unconscious biases, and it, as known, will kill diversity and inclusion. And definitely we need to eliminate the blind spots with nudging to construct bridges. And in the end, of course, it is important to support others to realize their unconscious biases when we are ready and figured out what are our unconscious biases. And with that, I like to close my speech and, of course, open the stage for all of your questions. So maybe I missed some when in the chat. Just open your mics and please go ahead. Are there any questions?
I'll just
yeah.
Thank you. I'll just start with saying thanks for the great session. There are really cool inputs that I'd like to take away and implement here at
Thank you. Thank you.
At Audi, Miriam, we had some diversity parkour. I put this link in the chat, and this is a great chance to learn this unconscious bias and to come in contact with other people. And I think it was not it was a physical event, but not a digital event, and I'm a little bit thinking about this. Maybe this is possible. This is in a digital event to transform this in a digital event. Maybe.
That would be great. That sounds great. Actually, at VW we have this how is it called, diversity lab trainings, and this takes 2 days. In the beginning, of course, we did it offline, but then we did it online, and it did work quite well. Although, of course, the direct exchange in the offline world is a bit easier on that topic. Thank you for your input, Alfred. Okay, Thomas.
Question.
Yes. The And Thomas just asked, do you have an experience how it went or developed when you helped another person to recognize, work on their unconscious biases? Actually, yes. So that was not directly in one of the situations I described as a team leader and as project leader, but just an interaction with a colleague. And she came to me and was complaining about a person and that she does not like this and she does not like that on that person and he's annoying and so forth. And then I just started to ask questions. What is annoying and what do you expect? And I started listening, and after that I reflected all the things she said, and okay, that's quite interesting. I did not see it from that way, and I also described this certain biases like stereotyping and in-group effect to her, and then she recognized, okay, that is very harsh, and she decided to do this get to know walk, and that opened her mind, and now these two colleagues are very closely working together and also meeting for cafe after work. So she just opened her mind, and it definitely helps to change your world.
Miriam, you're Silvio, thank you for your inspiring speech. From my side, I like gamification to bring a new topic into a team. Do you have some recommendation how to bring it as like a game or gamification? Are there any ideas?
I make an example. Maybe this helps. So I took over my team I have now at VW, and I'm really a fan of agile work, like stand-up meetings, retrospectives, and so forth. And I wanted to implement those. Then I arranged a meeting, of course, figured out how they are arranged so far, how many meetings do they have, and so forth when I took them over. And after 4 to 6 weeks, I set up or said, I like to have retrospectives. Then I described what are retrospectives, what I want to do, and then I placed an open question. What do you think? Just speak openly. Do you like to test a retrospective, or you don't want to test it? And remember also, by your decision, we can try, and if it's bullshit in your eyes, we can skip it again. So I left the whole stage to the team that they can decide to take the risk, make something new, and also to give them the opportunity. If it's great, we can keep on, and if it's not good, we just leave it behind us. And in the end, we gave it a try to a retrospective, and they were really happy about this. And now we have every 4 to 6 months a retrospective. So from my point, the main tip is to give the decision to your team, and not to say, we do this now, and I decide that we do this now.
Okay, thank
Maybe
you.
this helps.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
I would have, oh, sorry, somebody asked a question before. No, I'd have a question as well. I'm having issues. So I'm working in IT, which is a very male-dominated area, and we've had some candidates which were women, And at the end of the interviews, I realized that more often with women than with men, the outcome was, well, we're not sure she's going to be a good fit culturally, etc., which might be a valid point, might be a bias, and I'm not always sure whether it's me or the others. It has been both, and I'm always having a hard time figuring out, is it a bias that we're having, or is this person really not a good fit for our company? Do you have any tips on how to realize whether it's a bias or whether it's actually the case?
Actually, try to link the decision to hard facts. So, what are the questions you asked, and did she answer the question in the right, in exclamation marks? What was her answer as correct as the guys did answer this question? And figure out what are the explicit reasons why you think she wouldn't fit that well. So when you say, okay, I think she does not fit due to cultural reasons. What cultural reasons? Is she a mother, has 20 childs and maybe not enough time to fulfill the job? Or is she having a second job to cover all the expenses the family has, or anything like that? Just make this decision on hard facts. Sum up the hard facts. If you just say, okay, from my feelings, maybe she does not fit, then it definitely tends towards the point that there is an unconscious bias behind it. Maybe also for yourself, you could try to figure out, if you recognize her appearance, are there facts why you think she could not be the best fit to the position. As I showed in the last slide, this person has blue hair, then she's definitely not sufficient for that position. So if you figure out something like this for yourself, then it's definitely a bias. But if you can link it to hard facts, then it should work fine to fit or hire the right person.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, always compare it to a pool, not one-to-one person, but as I mentioned, to a pool of applicants.
Yeah, we have so few women applying actually in IT that it's sometimes hard to have a pool of more than one person.
Okay, so maybe then just not to the, if the pool's that limited, but also try to compare she or him to her, him, he. You know what I want to say, to the given positions. What positive and negative points do the colleagues already have? Does she or he fulfills the same requirements? Has she more experience or anything like that? Then you increase the pool, not only by the applicants, but also by the other persons in your team.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay. Just very shortly. Yes, of course, you can get the slides afterwards. And then Heidrun just wrote a question. I often use describe, interpret, evaluate exercises in workshops. Describe people or situations or mysterious objects. Then get aware of the difference between describing what you see and where your interpretation starts, and then do the same with interpretation and evaluation. Example, your feelings and judging. So try to do these 3 steps separately instead of all at once. It's not a question, but a very good hint, Heidrun. Thank you very much for that. Okay. So, are there any questions or hints like Heidrun's hint? Any further topics you like to address? Okay. If that's not the case, I really like to thank you all for listening to the unconscious bias worlds in our head. I hopefully could create some new insights and get some learnings, and you got some learnings. And Silvio, you could of course contact me via LinkedIn, then I can send the slides to you. And of course, this offer is also valid for all the other listeners. And I like to have a further great day on this diversity stories that matter. And maybe we meet again in our networking platform. So thanks and all the best to you.
Thank you.
Thanks.